Hi, Devin. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I'm excited to be speaking with you today.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Before we dive into, some of the organizations that you're a part of, you shared some very interesting branding with me
Mm.
before we hit record of
Oh,
your experience into the Twitch world. So I'd love for you to share, your thought around this branding. And I also love your lava lamp background, and I totally get it. That's going to connect to a certain demographic.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I set this up before this. There's a whiteboard behind here that typically I have, and I drew things on the whiteboard sometimes. But last year, I decided to try. I play a lot of computer games, like World of Warcraft in particular. And I thought, well, maybe I can get some side money by doing Twitch streaming. And I got a fast PC, and I learned about backdrops. So I set up a backdrop, and I wanted to have a brand where a lot of the Twitch streamers play games are younger, and the Twitch audience is somewhat younger, but there's a person now some of these people are aging. And I
Mhm.
thought I would just get an older demographic and get all these retirees to watch Twitch because they don't know about it. I thought they'd rather watch me than some 22. So I came up with the term name for myself online, which is Boomer Gamer, which is funny because to my demographic is great, but do you know what Boomer Gamer means to a 25-year-old? Boomer?
What does it
It's
mean?
it's an insult. It's a you don't know how to use a computer. That's what Boomer. Hey, Boomer, push the button, right? It's funny as hell. So I thought Boomer Gamer is perfect because it completely divides the world. I don't want, I'm sure I'd take 20-year-olds, but I really wanted to target the huge untouched group. So I got a lava lamp and a 8 ball and I have some other props and did the whole thing. So that I would really connect with them. The this is a classic kind of business model execution, prototyping thing is once I got it all set up and I started streaming and there were people, I got like 10 people in the channel watching me and I froze up. I was like, I don't
Really
like it. I don't like gaming for an audience.
interesting.
I'm an introvert. I knew that. I just didn't realize that all those streamers out there that you see that are getting energy from people and talking to them and looking at chat and they're extroverts. And
Interesting. What
isn't that
about
interesting?
growing up? Did you ever play video games with, a big audience around you in person with your buddies, or you were always
Oh,
gaming by
sure.
yourself?
We had a Space Invaders machine at my college co-op in Berkeley, one of those consoles where it's like a machine. And I played that a lot, and we'd get crowds watching, and that was fine. That was fine. This is just like I like to play video games. I've been doing it for almost 40 years. I like to do it in it's kind of a retreat for me. It's not
I
something.
gotcha.
So it just so I the long and the short of it is I ended up with this funny prop for my background. I do business, all my videos for the travel company. I use this backdrop and nobody questions it. And it's interesting. And that's the main thing with marketing is it can't be bland.
Mhm.
Anything is better than bland. And so this is my look online. So I thought, I'll keep it and see, until I start doing something where it's completely inappropriate and then I'll change it.
Well, let's hear a little bit about the organizations that you're a part of. So I know Travel Beyond the Obvious is one of them. Love to hear, your role at that. And I know over email you're sharing with me some other organizations you're a part of. So love for you to share, what are these companies? What are some of your roles?
Sure. Travel Beyond the Obvious is my company. I do it with a partner, Madeline Jower. She is a travel planner. She plans trips for Italy. She has a company called Italy Beyond the Obvious. And she hired me first as a consultant to help her do a newsletter template, which I did, which she's still using like 8 years later. But in the meantime, she said she kept getting requests from people who said, I don't want to go to Italy. I want to go to Greece. Is there a
Hmm.
Greece Beyond the Obvious? Is there a Madeline for Peru? That was one just very recently. And so she said she had about 20 of these, and she said, I had an idea of doing some kind of, packaging up how I built my company and, as explainer kind of video or something and selling it. I said, sure, that's right up my alley is helping you put all that together. So we put it together into a package. She did the videos. She actually, I mean, this is crazy, right? She had 8 people in her first class, which 8 lessons. So she was producing contents every week for the 8 lessons. And it goes from beginning, company ideation and then getting all the stuff that you teach and how to build a company. She just did it because she didn't have any background in it, but she had built her business. So she just explained how she did it. And every week she did it, a new set of stuff, which was like videos and a couple of templates for each section, just like you'd get in an incubator or something. She did it on her own. And here's the amazing thing. She didn't know this was crazy, but she got them to pay $800 each for that. Imagine people paying for a prototype, like
Right.
right? That's crazy. I said, that's nuts. And so she had like 10 people paying 800 a piece to do this 8 lesson video she built on the fly. And then I helped her package it and put a website together. So Travel Beyond the Obvious came out of that. And that was a success. And we still have 2 or 3 travel experts 7 years later who went through that original program. We added a certification program a couple years later because we wanted to grow it. And
Mhm.
the training program, which we haven't touched from our originals that she produced week by week, those things we haven't touched. And I have a review from somebody just yesterday who said, I can't believe how good this content is. Here, let me read this. This is so good. Where is it? It is, what's her name? Mar. She said, I'm getting through lesson 2, and I just want to say I'm so happy I decided to take this training course. There's no way I could have figured most of this out for myself. I'm not tech savvy, so I'm a tad nervous about going into things, but I don't think I've been this excited or confident to embark on something new in a long time. That's 100 because of this training. 100%. Looking forward to the Zoom session. So that validated that the content was good. And I decided to push it bigger and talked her into doing it. And so we built a website for Travel Beyond the Obvious. I built that because I have a background in web design. I'm one of the
Mhm.
longer standing, probably one of the longest web designers you've ever met. So I started in 94, 95. And that was good with all the training materials. And then we decided to establish this network and a set of certification. So the Travel Expert Network is a second company that we control,
Mhm.
which is a site. So Travel Beyond the Obvious is targeted at travel planners who want to learn to make money planning custom trips for people. And the Travel Expert Network is for travelers, where we post our certified experts in a directory. And the idea is that travelers would find that, and we just drive business. We are a marketing function. We are a
Mhm.
marketing tool for our travel experts. That's our only function.
Mhm.
And so we market to travel experts using Travel Beyond the Obvious. We market to travelers using the Travel Expert Network. There's a lot of synergies. I'm starting a newsletter where I can run content from the travel experts into the Travel Expert Network newsletter. So that's easy for me. But that's my role is I built
Mhm.
the website, all marketing, operations. Madeline is a travel planner. She's very busy. Italy Beyond the Obvious is blowing up. We had a big lull in during COVID. All our travel experts, their business died. But we
Mhm.
just kept saying, beating the drum, keep going, keep going. It's a good time to regroup. And now they're exploding. So everyone wants to travel. So she's busy. I primarily handled the business functions of the company, all the customer facing business functions.
I want to ask you one question within that, and I think you dubbed yourself the longest tenured web developer. Maybe that
Yes.
wasn't the title for yourself, but I'd love to hear your thoughts of how web development has changed from, I think you said 94 to 2024. Uh,
Yeah. Changed a lot.
Love to hear that from you.
Sure. I learned about web design while I was trying to pick up a woman in a bar in front of the Blue Chalk Cafe in Palo Alto. And this guy came up and was starting to talk to this group of people and said, hey, you want to see something cool? And he took us up to his office upstairs, had some monitors and things. He said, this is the World Wide Web. And there was like the Maze of Pipes picture, which we all remember from a long time ago. And had a server and he was broadcasting to a web browser on the same machine. And it's like, this is the World Wide Web. It's going to change everything. And the girls weren't impressed, but I was blown away because I thought I can do everything this guy could do. I had a skill set. I immediately went out and found a job as a web developer. So that's how I got started. I worked with Technicron and then which became Tibco, which is a very big middleware company. They do sub-second transactional stuff. They built the Reuters back end for stock exchange. So whenever you looked up a quote on Yahoo, that would be you hitting Tibco's middleware. They needed a gateway to the to HTTP to the web. So I got my start there. So at first it was very technical. Back to your question, very technical. It was only geeky companies that were doing the web. They hired people like me. I only needed to know 20 commands. I wasn't a programmer, but HTML only has 20 commands and I learned them. So I was able to do it. I started doing web design where I do prototyping with this tool. where I'd take a stack of paper and draw each page with links and stuff. And you know what I do now when I build a website?
What
Same
do you
tool,
know?
same tool.
What do you think of the ability to use AI to create websites?
That's interesting. I think so. They've been working on this for a long time, and I think that the evolution of the web design and stuff. First, it had to get easier. It had to get more stable, and that was the 90s. Remember the Microsoft Exploder? I don't know if you remember that.
I
That's what we
do.
call
I was born in '89, so
it. Yeah, you
my
kind of.
my experience with the internet was AOL Instant Messenger a lot in the '90s.
Yeah. The Explorer was so unstable that it got nicknamed Exploder in the 90s. But that was fixed by 2000, 2005. Then there was a lot of businesses that had to get onto the web. And so tools were made to prototype websites. And so there was a bunch at the start, PageMail, Home Site, to make it easier to web design, and
Mhm.
anybody could do it. And then there was the tipping point in when the web browsers started supporting more complex tools like uh, browser side content and other kinds of things where you had to become a programmer, CSS. So there was a point where you could no longer. I got out of web design when I saw a billboard on 101 in Palo Alto, which said, "My grandmother can make a better website than your grandmother." And it was an ad for a home site or something. And that was no longer true. And then suddenly it became the domain of programmer graphics people in the
Mhm.
early 2000s. And that's when I got out because I'm not a programmer and I do basic graphic. Since then, it has improved. And I don't think we're seeing that. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the 30-second load times. For
Mhm.
a long time, we couldn't get away because they kept expanding the complexity of web design as bandwidth went up, and it just
Mhm.
never really worked. And then about 2010, I think they fixed that. So now it's
If my web
fast.
page doesn't load within, a half a millisecond,
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
annoyed.
Exactly. And that's our standard now because they've fixed that. So they've solved a lot of these problems. They've come up with stuff. Now it's about security, which makes sense. The faster and easier access you have, the more stuff on your. But yeah, that's kind of the evolution. It was in fits and starts until they solved the speed problem and then gave enough tools to programmers. And now they have. So in the last 15 years, that's been solved. And I think the web design's there's been a lot of really innovative things that it's still hard to do. You need a cast of thousands to do a web design website, but you know.
I want to bring it back to travel beyond the obvious and
Mhm.
love to hear your answer to this, which is how do you gauge results in your marketing efforts? What does success look like to you?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I looked at the idea with growth marketing is, you measure success and see what it is, get metrics and all that. My metrics are from a very small audience.
Mhm.
Uh, it turned out that the travel experts, I don't have a lot of data. Sort of the TLDR here is I don't have much data. I decided a while ago that the best way I tried doing Facebook. I tried doing campaigns, 4 or 5 years ago, where we put a few $100s here and there just to test
Mhm.
the Facebook stuff. And we got almost no interest. And it turned out our market of travel experts was really hard to find.
Mhm.
It would either require a huge amount of money to get some of these keywords or a really solid organic platform of content and a little bit of money, which is the direction we chose to go because we didn't have any money. So for the past 5 years, I've been building up our content on our website and just working with our people. So in terms of how do I measure success, I measure success off that email is great.
Mhm.
That woman came to us a month ago. She actually wanted to work for Madeline, but Madeline didn't have any room. So she said, "You should be a travel expert." And she said, "Really? What's that?" And then Madeline told her about the program. She was like, "Oh my God, that sounds interesting." A month later, she signs up and pays us $2,500. So that's kind of the perfect customer, right?
Mhm.
How do you find that person with mass, emails? It's really hard. We're looking for a certain type of person who has expertise in another country, who has an entrepreneurial spirit, who has the time, who has $5,000 or so, because our money plus the startup cost, da, da, da. and and that demographic isn't reached by it's not many people,
Mhm.
and it's kind of particular. So I've been kind of, how do I measure success? I measure success saying that's a success, and we sold two others since the first of the year, and we're trying to grow. We're not trying to fast growth. We're trying to get another 5 to 10 travel experts every year. I
It
believe
sounds
it. Oh, go ahead.
Just interject real quick. It sounds within that you know your audience very well. You know your ideal avatar of a client. Can you give some advice of how do you go about getting so granular with that specificity? As it sounds like your organization has really nailed that.
Yeah, it's so important having the personas right. Um, well, trial and error.
Mhm.
We when we started, we had 10 people. Madeline had these emails. Our first personas were the people that had written in Madeline emails saying, "Do you do this for Peru or whatever, or can I do this or whatever?" Um, it turns out that well, we had to cast our net and look at different places. We went, so that's how I figured it out. Is I went to different places and put bait out, right? So I
Mhm.
went to so I spent 2 weeks looking up websites of travel planners, just looking at them, trying to gauge, does this person. So one thing that's different. So we have a big rule or line between us and the traditional travel industry, which is we are not travel agents.
Mhm.
Travel, and I don't know if you're familiar with travel. Could go way off the rails if I go too deep, but it's crazy. The travel industry has its own standards for how you do business because of the really, I worked with Sabre, the travel software years ago, and it's this big mainframe software to track flights and bookings and everything. And so the travel industry has molded itself around that so that travel agents make money off commissions.
Mhm.
There's this food chain of commissions that go up and down the supply chain. And that's how, when travel agents plan a trip, they're not making money from you directly. They're making money because they get a commission on your flight and they get a commission on your meals and they get a, because of the way this thing's set. And it turns out that that has worked for a long time, but there's a lot of places that don't pay commissions. And so travel agents don't book them. That's where my guys come in. They are more interested in providing a complete package so that you can book a trip to an ice cream maker in Rome, even though that's not any travel agent list, right? But you can book a better trip. So
Mhm.
my guys want to book a better trip. It turned out I could eliminate travel agents because they were stuck there and they didn't, and they get their money that way. Our guys are fee-based, which is
Mhm.
a term only the travel agent use. Everyone else in the world is fee-based. Plumbers are fee-based. Lawyers are fee-based. Accountants, right? Travel agents are not fee-based because they get commissions. So
Mhm.
they have this term for travel planners that don't take commissions are fee-based. And it just boggled me. It's like, that's what everybody is. Everybody's fee-based, but no. So in travel, I'm looking for a certain type of travel planner who doesn't like the commissionable service network,
Mhm.
which is what they call it, and doesn't like being kind of constrained by it.
Mhm.
Somebody who's just put this together, likes to plan trips for friends, has been doing it already, has been like doing it for free, has lived there or been there a lot. So they're not just sitting in Chicago. I have this picture of the other guys, which is some, fat lady sitting in Chicago, you know, researching places in Italy and wherever and planning trips all over the world and not ever having been there. And maybe that's a little mean, but it's a picture. And my picture of our people they're hiking in Kathmandu, right?
Mhm.
They're out there. They're there. They can plan custom trips. They can plan a trip where somebody's like got a kid and they say, okay, here's the best room in this hotel for you with babies. Third floor, quiet. You won't bother other people. It's like you can't get that from a travel agent. So I had to find those people who had that kind of specificity in their
Mhm.
skill sets. So the persona turned it, as I'm describing it to you, it's like incredibly narrow,
Mhm.
but when we get it, we get it and they pay us
Awesome.
20. Our close rate. Madeline is a salesperson. All of the buttons on the net go to her Calendly. That's our closing. If the right person clicks on that button, we have like an 80% close rate.
Awesome.
So,
Well, Devin, for the last question today, I want to hear your thoughts on an element of marketing in 2024 you're excited about, and whether that's a new platform, a software, AI, getting a little bit more macro. What's an element of marketing you're looking forward to this year?
well, AI is interesting. And in terms of how it can produce, we get questions all the time from our experts about how to use AI with their programs. So it is something that we have to be on top of
Mhm.
because we give advice. We have meetings every month. We have masterminds and everything where they want to see us to cover the latest technology and whatever. And they're doing marketing. So I think AI probably is the one that it worries me, but it excites me at the same time. I'm a
Mhm.
writer. I worry about AI generated writing, but I think there are ways that AI can help um, get past some of the harder things or things that are repetitive or make searches much more sophisticated. So I'm really looking forward to how it's going to kind of impact marketing and make it possible for a small company to have big marketing. I think that's
Love it,
really interesting.
Devin. So lastly, can you share some links, best ways to follow up with you?
Sure. Where to go? Yeah. So we at travelbeyondtheobvious.com. So we have two markets. Travel experts should go to travelbeyondtheobvious.com and just there are a lot of videos, samples. We have first three, so you can find the videos and subscribe. Travelers get into our network and look at some of our experts. Go to thetravelexpertnetwork.com and explore around. Look at the map. It's an interactive map. You can just see what some of our travel experts have done. And you can subscribe there. And every month you'll get news about things that are going on, places to go visit. We're repurposing all of our travel expert content. I'm actually writing very little for the Travel Expert Network, which is one of my models is I wanted to scale this. So travelers can go there and sign up and they'll hear great curated blogs and everything from our travel experts. So,
Perfect, Devin. Thank you so much for your time today.
oh, thank you.